In this episode,
I don't think people are designing the systems to make them not accessible, but people just don't understand perspective of people like Dawid, and they don't think about this because they don't know. Talking about numbers, estimation is that in Poland we have like 3 million of people with disabilities. Globally, I saw already few reports estimating the size of the market as the same size as the Chinese market.
there is a huge potential that your competitors are not building the product that is accessible. So you can pretty easily gain, let's say, 10% more or even more just by making your product accessible, especially if there is no competitor on the market and your product could provide a value for people with disabilities.
This is not only the competitive advantage in terms of increasing the market, which is of course true. But the important thing to know is that, for instance, blind people are the most loyal customers in the world. If they find the solution which is working for them, they still have to learn it. And if it works, they are not willing to change. They are not willing to learn any other system because this is enough. This is another factor people are not aware. This is what I learned from Dawid. If something works, it works.
It's not only the matter of the new users of your product, is keeping your old users who are becoming more or less disabled, keeping them as your users.
Whatever you do for accessibility, you do it for yourself in the future.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Welcome to Pragmatic Talks, a podcast and video series where we discuss startups, contemporary digital product development, modern technologies, and product management. We believe that everyone should have equal access to knowledge about product development and entrepreneurship, and also everyone should have the opportunity to apply it in pursuit of making our world a better place. Through this series, we aim to create an impact on the future world. In today's episode, our guests are Dariusz Drezno and Dawid Górny. Dariusz is a seasoned software quality manager with over 20 years of experience in the industry who decided to seriously address the topic of accessibility and become the founder and CEO of Accents, a consulting, training and software testing company focused on making products more accessible. Dawid Górny is a Chief Accessibility Officer at Accents, where he is managing accessibility audits, running consulting and trainings for companies and people working on software product development. Dawid lost his sight when he was young. His unique perspective of a person who knows how the world looks like both for people without any disabilities and people who cannot see, together with his software quality assurance experience, is something that makes him an exceptional accessibility expert. This episode is something extremely important for me, as it should be for everyone who is creating digital product. People with accessibility issues are using our products more often than we think. This episode is a unique opportunity for you to learn not only about accessibility, but also about how people with accessibility issues are using internet, mobile devices and products, such as the one you are probably working on right now. We are also going to discuss the market size of the solutions for people with accessibility issues and challenges they are facing every day. Listen carefully because you may find a great business opportunities in this episode as well. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dariusz Drezno and Dawid Górny. Welcome in the next episode of Pragmatic Talks. Today we have with us two brilliant guests, Dawid and Darek from Accents. And the topic of today's discussion is accessibility. A topic that is very important, the topic that I wasn't aware of, that is so important, and that there is a so huge market for people with disabilities, people with some limitations who are using our apps, our websites that we are creating, our systems that we are, platforms that we are creating. I'm pretty sure that most of you have no idea how people with disabilities are using internet, are using their mobile phones, and using your products that you are building. Today's discussion will be focused on this very important topic. But before we start talking about the accessibility, I would like you guys to tell us a bit more about yourself.
Okay. First of all, thank you for having us. As you said, my name is Darek Drezno. I'm a co-founder of Access together with Dawid and two other friends. And my story is quite long already because I've spent 20 years in Krakow IT companies, more or less, plus two years abroad. I started as a programmer, then quickly moved to quality assurance of different flavors in different companies. So I think our story is somehow similar. Then I opened my own company, and finally 2 years ago, we decided all together to focus entirely on accessibility aspects. So we started Access, which is a services company focusing on digital accessibility.
Oh, my story is also long because I'm not very young, but I am in accessibility because I am almost blind. And when I met Darek a few years ago, and I showed him how I use my smartphone, he said, "You are a born tester." I was really frustrated then because I tried to use application and I was not able to do it easily. So today I am very happy that I am in the company which helps people to make their products accessible. But from my history, I was 7 years old when I realized that I am blind, and then I had a lot of barriers, problems to educate, to get to work, to earn money. Actually, I know that accessibility is very important for the people in life if they want to get job, learn, and actually know what is around. Yeah,
Exactly. Okay, guys, so could you tell us a little bit more what is Access and what do you do on a daily basis? What do you do for your clients, with who you work? You don't need to provide names. If you want, of course, you can. But what do you do? What kind of services do you offer?
Yeah, so we tend to say that we try to make world more accessible, focusing majorly on the digital accessibility, because myself, Tomek, and other people, we have a big background in IT, so that was the easiest way for us to start working in this new region. We test, because this is our best known background. We test, we advise, we consult, and we also train people who develop web applications and mobile applications, and they want to make them accessible for people with disabilities. So basically, we are a services-based company. Hopefully, one day in the future, we'll have some kind of products by ourselves. But company is 2 years old already, so basically, we are delivering such kind of services.
And so, your personal experience, you said that you are blind since you were 7 years old, or you realized at the time that you were blind. How do you use your experience or lifetime experience at work today?
I used actually a lot of equipment. I had to think about what can I do to do the same things as other people who doesn't have these barriers. And this experience helps me a lot because I can imagine what is the perspective of the person who doesn't have any disability. What is important, I saw a little more than today, and I have perspective, a person who know how it is to see a little, but still, and now how is the perspective blind person, and what are these problems, these barriers, and it helps me a lot. Also, I study law, so this is quite helpful in my job because I can understand texts, and I help in our company with contracts and other things. And also, I can understand other testers, these users who test this digital software, and we have the same background, and I can communicate with them with ease. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add something to this, because I think this is something which hopefully makes us a little bit unique. Because in one company we combine people with really big background in IT, like myself, Tomek Bonior, also 20 years experience in quality assurance and development, our CTO. But we also have real users with disabilities. And this is, which is not really frequent on the market, because you can find a lot of companies hiring disabled people and doing the tests, but you cannot talk to them in really technical language. You cannot tell them, we need to do it part of our CI/CD pipeline, etc., because this is different world. So we are trying to combine it in one company And I think it works okay, because we as IT people, we have this perspective from Dawid and other friends. We don't lose the end user perspective. On the other hand, we can help them with all these technicalities. So that's one thing. And second part of this story, I think, which is also worth to mention, big part of my background was training the testers, helping people to get into the testing. And then I was doing the courses, trainings, etc. It was quite easy to have the subject matter expert in accessibility. I mean, then subject matter expert, and just teach him how to test professionally. So this is how this started. And now we are doing this with other colleagues. We have perfect end users. We just need to teach them how to test professionally, and I think it works.
So how big is your team?
Right now it's around 10 people.
Great. So tell us a bit more about the clients that you're working for, products that you're working, like what types of the product, banking or industries.
When we started the company, we said that there are few verticals which would be our goal, the most important for us. One, I think it's quite interesting. One is the public sector, which is the total separate universe, as you can guess. but it is important in terms of accessibility. The first one was, of course, IT, because we have understanding, we have network, we have customers from our previous companies. So IT, government or public sector, then health, fintech, and that's probably the major ones we decided to attack. And I would say that we have most customers from fintech, from IT, of course, and also from the public right now.
Great. So hopefully public systems in Poland soon will be accessible.
They must be according to the law. Of course, the reality is quite different. I'm sure Dawid can talk a lot about this. But yes, we are here to help.
Tell us more about the accessibility of public systems.
Okay, it's hard to say about this because it's a very frustrating part of my work, because I have to use this public software and tools, and very often it doesn't work at all. And I am also a president of two NGO, and I have to fill forms and report to the public. And sometimes it is not possible. So I really don't like it. I am frustrated and I have to ask for help. Yeah, so it's not as it should be. From the other side, we met some people who take care of this, and they want to change. They want to change it. They know that there are problems, but they want to change it, and we hope that it will change in the future.
I hope that someone from government, only Polish government in general, will watch it, will listen to this podcast. And of course, if you would like to help, if you would like to be involved in making public sector, public systems more accessible, you can contact directly to Dawid and Derek, or to us, and we'll redirect you to actors. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the basics of the accessibility. Yeah? Like, what is accessibility? What are types of accessibilities? Because I know that there are like different groups of users who require systems, apps, accessibility. So could you tell us a little bit more about the accessibility itself?
You may find a lot of different definitions of accessibility, and even we created our own. Can find it on our web pages, and I like to use it personally. For me, accessibility is just a part of usability. It is just the fact that the product or the service can be useful for the people with different kind of disabilities. The typical way the disabilities are classified is that you have visual, hearing, motion, and cognitive disabilities. Of course, you can go deeper, and you can have combinations, etc. But this is the main and the starting point. So if your software, your service, your hardware device is can be used by people with such kind of challenges, it means that this is accessible. Unfortunately, right now, the reality is that majority of the product services, especially digital ones around us, they are not fully accessible. Some of them are not accessible at all, but there is plenty of the job to be done.
So if you could guess, what is the reason why so many products are not accessible?
My guess would be that this is just a matter of education. We don't have in our, let's say, normal lives, some of us don't have the contact with people with disabilities, even if in the future, most probably all of us will have some kind of disabilities to some degree, and just getting older. So as you said, you were not aware about this topic until we met. And that was the same for me until I met Dawid, but it was during our studies a long time ago. So I think it's just a matter of education, knowing that the world is different from different perspectives. I don't think people are designing the systems to make them not accessible. Everyone wants to make accessible, but people just don't understand perspective of people like Dawid, and they don't think about this because they don't know. So majority of our job is also to create awareness.
Yeah, it is true. And what I would like to add is that the people sometimes try to imagine what is the real life of a person with a disability, and it is not possible. We cannot imagine how a blind person is living, and what are these barriers, because it's not as easy that we close the eyes and just try to do something. Yeah, I see it also in my field because I meet a lot of people who has different needs, and I am really surprised. Yeah, because for me, I am in this branch. We deal with the accessibility. But I can't imagine some needs of other people, yeah?
We will talk a lot about blindness today because we have Dawid with us, but deaf people, it is also a completely different story, yeah?
For example, when I was coming here actually today, I was thinking about we need to work on the transcription of all of our podcasts. The quality of the generated subtitles is pretty low, so some of the sense of the discussions may be lost. So we definitely need to cover it and work on it as well. As I said, it wasn't that I wasn't aware that there are people with disabilities. I wasn't aware about the scale and how many people are using internet, are using applications, are using websites, and have some problems, some disabilities, some challenges. Could you tell us a bit more about the market? Of the people with disabilities. So just to give some context of, actually we met for the first time we met a couple of weeks ago at some conference, but we met a couple of weeks ago when you came to us and offered us working on my startup, helping us with my startup Health Folder, which is a startup that I'm working on currently. That makes me realize that when I was watching recordings of how our users use our app, it occurs that around 30% of our users have problems with their site. Yeah, like when they have the interface that is increased, like all the fonts, everything else, and design of our application for such a users actually it sucks. And I'm not even talking about people who are sightless, because that already proved us that our application is totally inaccessible for people who are blind. Yeah. But I didn't realize that even in our case, okay, our users, our target group is something between 45 to 65 years old. But among those people, 30% of users have their interface on their mobile phones increased to the huge font size, huge for me as a person who has no problem with vision. And as I said, our usability for such users, 30% of users actually sucks. So could you tell us a bit more? How does it look like globally, and what are the numbers in terms of the market size?
Okay, so maybe before I will get to the numbers, I would just add that you can have the disability which is permanent, which unfortunately many of us will have at the end of our life, just to some degree. So like you have it for the rest of your life, but you can also have temporary disabilities. You broke your leg, you have problem with your eye, your ear, whatever. Yeah. So, and it also happens that I never used the zoom in function in my computer since last month. But now my vision is a little bit worse and I need to use it. So I'm also benefiting from accessibility right now, even if it was never my thought. Talking about numbers, maybe let's start with Poland. I think the estimation is that in Poland we have like 3 million of people with disabilities. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something like this, different kind of disabilities.
It's even more because it's almost 5 million if we think about all the people who has a disability. Maybe not very hard, but still.
I'm talking about people who are officially registered by the government and they're getting some kind of money for that, some benefits. So definitely it's more. So we can say it's 10%. Globally, I saw already few reports estimating the size of the market of the disabled people as the same size as the Chinese market. And I think this is true.
So if you were thinking about translating it up to Chinese and go to the market and increase your user base number, you can actually do the same by increase your user base by actually making your product more accessible.
Yeah, so that's one thing. If you want to make your product useful for people with disabilities, the market is like between 10 and 20% globally. So that's one thing. The second thing is that in many countries, including Poland, Europe, US, etc., you have to do it according to the law. And of course, the law may be better or worse proceeded, and the punishment works sometimes doesn't. But this is also something you need to fulfill. For instance, if you go to some more advanced markets in terms of accessibility.
Even China has a law which is forcing actually companies to be accessible. We don't know details, of course, but we were surprised that even in China, we thought about this market as it's actually not very sensitive for the people with different needs, but they also do it. So globally, this market is growing because the law is changing and accessibility is required. Yeah.
So one more thing that I just recall from our last discussion that we had like a couple of weeks ago, Dawid, you mentioned that, for example, for a person who is sightless, there is a very limited choice of services provided. Like, for example, when you are choosing a bank, it's not the choice of the entire market. It's just like a one or two who are actually accessible and whose applications are possible to use. Not even mentioning things like investment platforms or this kind of stuff. Could you tell us a little bit more about how does it look like? How does the market look like from the person perspective, the person who is sightless?
Yeah. It is very hard topic because banking is very important, especially in Poland. Banks are very well developed in digital services, but only a few take care of accessibility. And blind people have just these few choices, and they are also very frustrated when this accessibility is going worth. Or what is happening sometimes because they don't have access to their money, they cannot pay bills and other operations, they cannot do it. So it's huge thing, and in my opinion it's very important to be accessible when we have public services. Banking is also a little public service, because you have to have a bank account. For example, when you work and your salary is getting to you, it has to be on your bank account. It is big thing, and we don't have a lot of choices. So it will change because the law is also changing, and next year this not commercial banking will be accessible, must be accessible for clients.
Until then, like banking is one example, but there are of course different type of services which are also very limited for people with disabilities. So for anyone who is right now building a product, you can imagine that you are competing with others on your market, on whatever you are doing. There is a competitors for your market, for your services or product. There is a huge potential that your competitors are not building the product that are accessible. So you can pretty easy, and we'll talk about the costs of accessibility pretty soon. You can pretty easy gain, let's say, 10% more or even more, because it's a 10% of the market are the people who have some disabilities, but it's not 10% of your customers. It might be even doubling your number of customers just by making your product accessible, especially if there is no competitor on the market and your product could provide a value for people with disabilities. Seriously, think about it, because it might be a game changer even for your business, just making such a simple improvements like making your app accessible.
There is one important thing I would add to this, if I can. This is not only the competitive advantage in terms of increasing the market, which is of course true. But the important thing to know is that, for instance, blind people are the most loyal customers in the world, because if they find the solution which is working for them, they still have to learn it, how to use it. Mm-hmm. So they need to memorize the UI. Yeah. And if it works, they are not willing to change. They are not willing to learn any other system, because this is enough. This is another factor people are not aware. This is what I learned from Dawid. If something works, it works. Also, e-commerce. Yeah, you can comment, Dawid, but blind people hate going to supermarkets. Yeah, it's traumatic experience. Yeah, so they prefer to go to the e-commerce, order whatever is there, and get the parcel, assuming that the e-commerce system is accessible, of course.
Mm-hmm. So, as you can see, but let's dive into this topic of learning how to use applications, because it's very challenging for people with disabilities, especially with the sight disabilities, to copy with any changes that are made in the applications. I recently had the situation that there was a person who was blind, and he was trying to walk through the broad construction area that was next to my apartment, and when I saw it, I of course helped that person to get through. We had a small talk about. He said, like, no, I'm walking here like for the last 5 years every day. I remember every single step, every single meter of the road, and now they change everything. And
so it sounds like Dawid history.
That's because under construction. So okay, it's under construction, but he said that for him it would be like living in a totally different world after this construction, and learning again and again, step by step, how to go home from his work. Yeah. Fortunately, as far as I know, as far as I see, the new sidewalks, new crosswalks are prepared for blind people much better than they used to be, but still that require a lot of effort from such a person to learn how to use this road. So I can imagine that the same happened with the applications.
Yeah, this is the same story. Yeah, we have to learn a lot, because the road is something what we have to remember, and if anything change, we have to learn it from the beginning, actually. And you just see and you know what to do, and I have to learn it. I have to check everything, every element. So anything what change is surprise, and I don't very often I don't know how to use it, and I have to get the context and then know how to use it. We have to learn a lot, so we don't want to learn more, because we don't have time. Yeah, I realized one day that I learn, and I don't use it. I just learn the software. Yeah, so I don't use it. I just learn it. So this is stupid. So I want to learn one thing and just use it up to the moment when I know that this is something better, or the accessibility is worse. Yeah.
I used to say, based on my experience with Dawid and Adrian, who is also working with us and is a blind person, that from my perspective, they also have a lot of superpowers they need to develop. So, for instance, they have insane memory because they need to memorize almost everything. And also because of this inaccessibility around, they have immense patience. I cannot imagine having so many barriers in your life every, minute sometimes. They are not getting mad at this.
I'm very impressed by you, but also by any other person who is coping with the world that we are living right now. I can also imagine, in Poland especially, that is very fast developing country. Like we have a lot of reconstructions, a lot of things that are changing all the time.
Yeah.
So that definitely is very, very challenging. Okay, I think it's a good moment to actually, we are talking about how we use the applications, how to use internet, etc. But maybe you will show us how does it look like. I remember that was something that I was very surprised actually when I saw you for the first time when you've been using your phone and how you use it. So,
of course, I can show you. I have iPhone. This is the most often chosen smartphone by blind persons because it is really accessible for the most of applications and the system. And I use it in Polish, so sorry because it will speak in Polish.
So that was example of another superpower. They can hear everything, which is with the speed, which is not possible for us.
So you can watch like all of our episodes in 1 hour or something.
Yeah,
hours.
It's true. It's speaking quickly, but I don't hear actually all of this what it speaks. Yeah, because I think that accessibility is something what is equal between us. Yeah, you see and you know, and I hear and I know. So the time is very important. And of course, my way is slower, but I want to make this change smaller. Yeah, so this is very important for me. So I will try to slow it down. Maybe I just do it. Okay, I use Face ID, and now I use gestures. Now I turn my 2 fingers. Okay, it's 60% speech, and I just used the 2 fingers to turn them, and then I heard the speed of the voice, and now it speaks slower. And this is actually all of this system, all of this application works in this system that I use gestures and I touch the screen and it doesn't happen anything. Actually, I have to tap it twice, for example, or I just use a special gesture to make something real. And now, for example, I go to messages and my smartphone told me tap twice to open. Yeah. So now I have to show something, for example, App Store, and then I hear the way how to use this. For example, I tap twice, and it speaks to me what is going on. I know that this is open now, and I can use App Store. Yeah, for example. So other applications works in the same way. I can also change, for example, language.
English, US.
And now it speaks in English synthesizer, but I have Polish interface, so it sounds crazy, yeah. But this is also my world, and it happened very, very often. In English Webpages, for example, it is very useful, and maybe... Oh, and now I am on the English web page, and now I try to read something.
Latest, heading level 3. Latest, choose, region, landmark.
And now it works properly.
Choose, heading level 3. View all, link. Previous slide, women. PDI, link, image. Planet Earth 3. Text in front. Group relatives on grassy field. Planet Earth 111. Our home. Ellipsis. Our future.
Okay, but it speaks very quickly, but now on the English web page it works properly, yeah? And that's what I wanted to show you.
Maybe there's also one dimension of this, that you are using the voice assistants very, very often, yes?
Oh yeah,
Not only listen and tap, but you are also talk a lot to your...
yeah, it's very useful for me. For example, I will show you this again. What is the weather in Krakow now?
It's currently windy and -2 degrees in Krakow. Expect haze starting in the evening. Then cloudy skies starting tonight. Today's high will be -2, and the low will be -9 degrees.
Yeah, and for me it is much faster than find the application and tap twice and just look for this information. Yeah,
Something so, what for us is usually just a gadget, a feature, nice feature.
Yeah.
For you, it's something that's a basic way you communicate with your smartphone.
exactly.
Yeah, so Dawid is dictating all the emails, SMSs. We can hear it in the office sometimes that he's typing the email with his voice. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, this is also very useful, and I use also Apple Watch, and it speaks also, and I can check a lot of things on Apple Watch, and I use it for trainings because I like sport, and here I have some application for my activities, sport activities, and I also can use it because it speaks to me, and it is possible.
What are the standards for accessibility? You already mentioned that there are some government restrictions, some law that actually enforces some standards. But I know that there are like a few levels of accessibility that any company, any product could achieve, could be even certified in, as far as I understand.
Okay, so maybe I will start one step back, because we discussed already the laws in different countries. So basically, in each country, we have the law which tries to force accessibility also in the digital area. But the fact is that whatever country you will choose, no matter if this is Canada, US, Europe, China, all of those regulations, they refer to the de facto standard, which in fact are guidelines, which are called WCAG, or in some regions they call it WCAG, pronounce it WCAG. So WCAG is a set of guidelines developed by W3C organization, which is well known in IT world, I believe. Currently, they released version 2.2, and it gives you the guidelines mainly related to the websites, but you can quite easily transform them to the mobile world, saying what does it mean that you have accessible, or what you need to do, what guidelines you need to fulfill to make the product accessible. You can be compliant with this guideline on 3 levels: single A, double A, and triple A. Triple A is the highest one. Single A is the basic one.
And is there any no A?
Your product.
Before we release it, will be
basically, each new product, mobile app, web app, which is produced without thinking about accessibility, that would be on the 0 level, no A. Regulations around the world, all of them, as far as I know, refer to WCAG on the double A level. So if you want to be compliant with the rules in the given country, you need to get to double A level. But we always recommend to companies, to startups, to new products, to people who are new to accessibility, to start with single A right now, to aim to achieve the single A level, and then make another investment to go to the double A. Because from the disabled people perspective, going from 0 to single A is much bigger difference in UX terms than from going from single A to double A. There is a big wow effect when you go from 0 to single A, and there is of course wow effect on the next step, but it's not as big.
Yeah, true. So what is the single A level?
In shortest way, I would say that this is basically to not have any blocking issues on your website or your mobile app, so which makes it able to be used by people with different kind of disabilities. It's not perfect. There are some glitches they need to work with, they need to live with, but they can basically use the app, no matter if they are not have problem with the sight or with the audio or with the movement. So that's basically the rule. And the reality right now is, especially in Poland, that the average is much below the single A level. So don't worry about your app.
It will be fixed.
It's the average situation, the typical one.
Yeah. So, but what does it mean? You said that there is no blockers. So, what are the types of blockers? Like, what does it mean that there is a blocker in a mobile app, for example?
Maybe from my perspective, if I have links and this link is not, it cannot be achieved by the keyboard is blocker. When I have a button and I don't know that this is the button, and I don't know the name of the button and I don't know what to do with this, with this element, this is blockers, for example. When I have form field where I cannot type with the voice assistant, and this is very often, and this kind of things. For example, very very often in applications, especially, I have checkbox and I cannot mark it with voiceover. It's impossible. And for example, this is GDPR agreement or something like that, and I cannot go further, and it's not possible. I cannot use this application.
So, David, from the technical perspective, what are the reasons behind that? Like, why David cannot mark the checkbox? Like, it's because like there are. I can imagine that, for example, in the form fields or buttons, it's just because someone not only breaks the rules of the accessibility, but just breaks the double 3C rules, and the website that they built is not in proper HTML.
So basically, people with disabilities, they use assistive technologies to use digital products. The demo that we just did was the demo of the screen reader, which is a tool, which is a software, which is reading the screen for you. The same type of software David has installed on his PC, on his laptop, and he's using it every day, not using mobile. So to make your product accessible, you need to make it accessible for the screen reader in this case. So it means it has to be coded according to the rules. And when you do the websites, the rules are pretty simple. It's HTML, W3C, and we know them. The big part of accessibility is just to do the good craftsmanship in terms of coding, in terms of creating the products, because those assistive technologies, they rely on the standards. So if you do the coding according to the rules, if you code this button, this field, this checkbox, this menu in the, let's say, classical way, you are not trying to invent the wheel and do some super hyper additional features, it will work. So it will be read for Dawid, and Dawid will be able to handle that.
So in HTML, which params are responsible for that second name param? At the images, of course, it's alt.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure. And I will have questions about it in a moment, but as well. But in the let's say form buttons, etc., is a name or something else that need to be.
It's the whole structure of the web page. So first of all, very important thing, especially if you have a lot of content, is to use the headings properly. Yeah. Not just to make it bigger or smaller, but to be structure to be able to navigate. Yeah? Also, menu has to be coded properly. The same with buttons. The same with forms. I haven't coded in HTML for many years, so probably there are better people in our company to tell you the specific things. But yeah, basically this is just go according to the basic rule.
I will go to the question about the alt text for images. So I was always struggling with what to put there, Dawid. So what would you expect in the alt field alt parameters for the image, like.
Yeah, because it is simple and not simple at once. Simple because you should type there what you see, but you have to choose. When you have the picture, there are a lot of things, and you have to choose what to type. And actually, you should type there the meaning of the picture. And this is the most important. Very often people don't know what to type and how to type it. Yeah, because for example, there is very attractive woman. Yeah, for me doesn't mean anything. Yeah, because I would like to know how tall she is and what the color of her hair, eyes, and if she's smiling. And this is what I can imagine and say, okay, she is attractive. Yeah? If you say it is attractive, actually it's not describing, it's just your opinion. Alt text and audio description is to tell someone what is on the picture, but without the opinion, and this what is the most important from this graphic. Yeah. It can be one sentence, it can be 6 sentences. It should not be too long because it is audio description actually. Yeah? Alt text should tell me generally what is in the picture, and very often under this picture or over is the text, and I know the context, so it's enough for me to know what is in the picture more or less. Yeah.
So what's your opinion, like for example, in stuff with something basic like a logo? Like we have a Pragmatic Talks logo, which is like a P, which is, like crossing somewhere, etc. Should we describe it's like how does it look like, or should we just put it's a Pragmatic Talks logo?
Are you proud of this logo? Yeah, sort of. Okay. So if you want to show it to other people, maybe I should see it too. Yeah. So at least in the first step, maybe I should know how it look like. Yeah. For example, very, very often I hear these sentences, European Union logo is very interesting, yeah? Okay, for me it means nothing if I don't know what is on the logo. Yeah? So that's why, for example, some companies pay a lot of money to make this logo very attractive, very and later this logo can be very famous, yeah, and it is part of social life, and blind people don't know what it's talking about, yeah, because we don't know how this logo is look like. So maybe it should be, but not very, very much. Yeah, logo is not.
But I also think you mentioned that alt depends also on the context.
Yeah.
If your logo is on your main web page and this is just a button which is going to the main page, so that it's enough for Dawid to know, okay, there is a logo in the corner and this is logo of your company which will direct me to the main page. But if you have on your blog the article saying, we just invested in our new logo and we refresh our logo, and there's a big picture of your new logo, then for sure you should, on the alt, you should say what has changed, how the logo looks like, because in this context, this screenshot or this graphic is useless.
Yeah, this is main information then.
So for example, on the sub page, which is on Pragmatic Talks about us, where we have the logo there somewhere, we could add like more description.
Yes, exactly.
What this logo look like and why it's like that or something like this. What about for example, on our webpage there is a bunch of pictures of our team members from Pragmatic Coders, and let's say that there is like a picture of Kasia, who is our lead UX designer. She also in the part of one of the previous episodes, and her colleague said Justina, for example, and they are doing something on the table, like drawing something. Should we describe all of this?
No, not very much. Yeah, it is also important who is watching and why. Because if you have someone in your team who is blind and need this description, it cannot be more specified. Yeah, and you can name this people. Because this person will know their names and know much more from this picture and from the context a lot. But if you show it just outside, you can say that two women, are drawing something on the board or something like that. Yeah, so this is also enough for me, to know what is going on in this news.
Fair enough. Okay, we talked about the starters, we talked about the structure. So let's talk about money. Let's talk about costs. What are the costs of making the app accessible? Okay, let's imagine two situations. Well,
I just don't want to start with it depends. Yeah, it depends actually on the
two situations. One situation is that we are starting from scratch. We start with the piece of paper or code editor, and we start encoding. And we already have like a huge banking system that has never been thought to be accessible. What's the comparison and what's the price involved?
Okay, so I will start with the easier one. Let's say you are starting from scratch. So I would risk the statement that if you train your team first about accessibility, then the cost would be close to zero because of the training, of course. Yeah. If you start correctly, then it's, of course, much easier. Important thing to know, which is also not well known around, is that accessibility means also simplicity. So the simpler is the app, it's more accessible because there is less features to remember, to explore, to code, and to listen to. So sometimes making the app or web app or mobile app more accessible means simply to not add another feature, because it will complicate the stuff. So let's say you have your UX people, you have your developers and testers trained in terms of accessibility. I think the basic training, like 2 days, is enough to just get this kind of thinking. Then you should be able to build the accessible products. Of course, you should test them or monitor them regularly in terms of accessibility, and there are both automatic tools which can help you. We also recommend from time to time always to check it with the real user, which is also the case for any other aspect of the product. So not a rocket science. So I would say that the cost is limited. You can also, if you are at the beginning, you have like the MVP or demo or the first version, you can ask companies like us to do the audit, accessibility audit. And both, I would say, the initial training for your team or audit for medium-sized application, the cost is probably comparable to the cost of monthly salary of one developer. Yeah, more or less, of course. It depends. Yeah. When we switch to the second case, like you have big system, banking system or whatever, e-commerce, and it was never designed to be accessible, and we do the audit. So first of all, the audit can be much bigger because the system is bigger. And most probably we'll find hundreds of issues. Literally, this is usually the case that our report is the hundreds of issues. So first problem is that the team, when they receive such report, they are like, okay, this is too much to handle. Yeah, we need to prioritize it somehow or whatever. We need to sometimes when this is the web page, for instance, it's cheaper to rewrite from scratch than to fix all the stuff, because some things like alt menus, buttons, it's simple to fix. But sometimes you need to redesign the whole flows and the whole logic. And if you are also using some technologies like embedding into the website something which is not really easy to fix, like third-party libraries, etc., you need to redesign or use another library or rethink the whole system. So it may be pretty expensive. That's why we are also recommending to not start with AA, to not get 500 issues, but focus on single A and get 150, for instance. Okay. And then, of course, the cost might be, huge.
Yeah, because it's redesign. Yeah, it's redesign to create designers, to create developers to actually do the job, to do this. So yeah, that might be pretty high, but still, I believe that especially where someone is operating in a niche with not so many competitors, and the competitors are not providing accessible products, it might be really worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And you should go step by step. Yeah, so start with the main page, then identify the main flows. Some flows are very often used by disabled people. Some are not useful for them. Yes. So First of all, I would start with the end users, invite people like Dawid, and like people with other disabilities, and ask them what is the most important, what is the blocker for you, and start with that, step by step.
Mm-hmm. Is there any way to actually find such a testers, despite your company efforts? But maybe how to learn about the market needs? I mean, like, usually we do like a user research, market research. We do a lot of interviews. Are there any communities of people, for example, with disabilities, to whom we can, go to and say, okay, we are running this interviews, surveys, whatever, and we need your feedback. We need to know what's important for you. Like, for example, in our case, health folder application, we already spoke about it, Dawid, that you told me that those up would be great if it would be accessible for you, because there is no other option for you to actually work with your medical documentation, etc. But you were the first one who told me that, and who told me that there is a huge potential and huge market in that. And if I would like to do more research, talk to other people, so where could I find it?
In the internet, the easiest way.
Like everything.
Yeah, like everything. You can find some groups in Facebook, or for example, I am also in WhatsApp groups, technical groups, but they are close. So maybe it's not for you, but I can ask my colleagues to test something or to use something and how it works for them. The easiest way is to meet someone who has problem and ask him, and then to find a good tester, because not every person who has different needs, different blockers, can be good tester. I had to learn a lot about testing, because I was thinking my mindset was, I have to deal with this because it is like it is. I tried to use the software. It doesn't matter if it was accessible or not. And I have some tools to do it, but it takes a lot of time. So accessibility is very important. But still, we don't have a lot of good accessibility user testers.
Yeah, no, there are like different. One thing is testing, and the second one is just doing the user research with people who are not even testers, and it's better that they are not testers, because we can actually, they will behave in a way that's not the way that testers do, but the way they usually do. They want to use the app, not being by a tester.
Yeah, so for sure there are some communities, and you will find the groups, especially on Facebook, I would say.
Yeah.
There is also a lot of NGOs which are aiming to help people with different kinds of disabilities, and I would say that this is very often a good starting point of contact. Okay, ask them, we need 10, 20 people to consult our solution, and I'm sure they will have a lot of contacts. We can also organize something like this for you, but we do it in more, let's say, technical way.
Yeah, but we have our personal contacts, and we know who is better, who is worse for testing, because some people use the software in very simple way. Some are very advanced.
Okay, so we already spoke a bit, spoke a lot about the user-centric design, and how user-centric in this case is very, very important to have in mind that there are people with disabilities and to working with them. Is there anything else that you would like to add on top of that, like in terms of the user-centric? We already spoke where to find those users, but maybe there is something more. You mentioned that there are different types of disabilities, and how important it is to actually work with people with different types of disabilities when designing and then developing and testing the.
So first thing I would like to emphasize, because we're talking about audits and testing, you cannot do the proper accessibility audit or test without the people with disabilities. You can have the technical expert who knows WCAG very well and knows the tools, but this is never enough. You need to involve somebody with disability to consult. The more, of course, the better. So that's one thing. So I think it's difficult to say that one disability is more challenging than the other, of course. But when you look at the digital products, I would say that the majority of the problems we discover with testing with people who cannot see. with blind people. Because if you cannot hear, you still can use the system. You can read. Of course, if you have video, you should add the subtitles or whatever. I think this is the most challenging perspective, I would say. Also, people with cognitive problems. This is slightly different word, different kind of testing, and this is the testing when you often need to have somebody to help you to facilitate the test. Don't try to put all those people in the same room at the same time.
Okay.
I spent some time with our deaf friend trying to communicate with Dawid.
Okay.
And you can imagine it's a big challenge. And you are in the middle of that, and of course you can do it, but it's a big effort. So it's better to focus on separate groups, have one group, one UX examination or session with blind people, another with deaf people, another with people who have motion issues, another with person with cognitive problems. Because combining it at the same time, it's difficult, and you need to have some practice, and you need to have assistance, etc. So that's one aspect. What are you stopping?
I guess this is very important what you said, because different needs need different assistance, different way of communication. Yeah, so our deaf friend is very, very good person. Very visually, he is very he communicate in visual way. Yeah. This is not accessible for me completely. I remember our first talk, and I was talking to him, and I thought, wow, it's nothing interesting in my talking. So maybe we should finish our meeting. And later my friends told me, but he was very interested of what you said. And I said, really? I didn't know about it. So this is different, the tribes, and
but of course in the middle of that there was a translator using the sign language.
Yeah.
So it is also pretty time consuming.
Yeah, true. You have to think about it. You have to address this barrier, and it takes time. Yeah. So that's why Darek said about don't make tests with different people with different disabilities.
But on the other hand, it's important to ensure you have different perspectives, because as Dawid said, you cannot simulate that. Yeah, you cannot just close your eyes. This is completely different way of living, using the technology, and also using these assistive technologies.
Yeah, true.
No, for me, using the phone the way that Dawid did, at least require learning for a long time when it would ever be possible. Yeah. And not for sure not to the extent that Dawid is using it. So let's talk about the future. We were talking mostly about how does it look like right now. So do you already see? Maybe let's talk a little about past first. So do you think that this situation, you already said that the average is way below 1A in Poland or in general in the world, probably the same. But do you think it's improving or it's still at the same level?
It's definitely improving. We started a few years ago, even before the Accent was created. We did it under a different brand. So it's improving in Poland and in Europe. As Dawid mentioned, there is this European Accessibility Act, which has to be implemented in the whole European Union next year. There are some countries which are more advanced already, which is Canada, US, UK, and Scandinavian countries. For different reasons. I think in Scandinavia, it's simply the better education in this aspect. In US, it's just better lawyers, which you can be simply sued for millions of dollars if you don't have accessible product or service. And there is plenty of cases like this, and there are even companies specializing in such kind of things. For sure, the awareness is growing. People see it is important. There is another trend going in parallel about inclusiveness, and this is just a part of inclusiveness. Yeah. So there is a good press around accessibility for sure, and this is also that's why we also decided that we would like to have such kind of company. We said we would like to have something meaningful. We would like to do something interesting, but we also it has to have a chance to survive on the market. So, and the market
It's business at the end of the day.
and the market is growing. So definitely, that's one thing. So there is also this topic very popular recently about universal design. And that was the one thing we have learned when we started the company, because our initial thought was that our main customers, the most interested part of IT companies, would be the QA guys, testers, because they will learn how to test it, they can raise bugs, it's interesting. Over those 2 years, we have learned that the most interesting roles are UX people.
I can imagine that because like testing is, as you already said, it's way too late. Even if you will provide, if the QAs will provide with like a bug records or issue records, 500 issues, no one will care. Actually, we will say, okay, we give up this 10% of the market. Yeah, like sorry, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But designers who already design it from the scratch, they can bring a lot of value and a lot of competitive advantage from the day one. Yeah.
So that's one thing, and I think the future looks pretty optimistic. The next applications, the next versions of the app, web app, mobile app, will be simply more accessible step by step, especially in our region and also in our country. I can see there is also some risk. I'm just a little bit afraid that we can repeat the case of GDPR. I think there is a small risk that all companies trying to be compliant with the rules, they will fake it a little bit. So they will do something around accessibility, but at the end, it won't be the real accessibility. It will be something just to fake it and show that we are compliant. Good example are the different kind of widgets, the accessibility overlays you can buy, and you can install them on your web page. And they will show different options, how to change the font, the contrast, whatever, which pretend that the website is accessible right now, but in fact it's less accessible. And people like Dawid hate this overlays and these widgets. It's not useful. It duplicates the standard functionality of the system or the browser. So basically, this is a good example. And some companies trying to cut this corner, to go to this shortcut. So there is some risk around this, but again, we need to educate, and hopefully it won't repeat the GDPR story.
I think it's very important for everyone that sometimes people may have like a good intention to actually implement this, but are not aware, as I said, education.
And so involving the end user, because if you find this idea, but if you ask Dawid, he will tell you immediately. Or if you do the test, if you do the demo for a disabled person, they will tell you it doesn't make sense for me.
I have a little different perspective also. I agree with Darek, but another perspective from me, because I try to observe the people without the disabilities, without special needs, how they use digital products. And a few weeks ago, we have a meeting with a guy, and we were talking about a web page, and he told us, okay, we have quite new web page, and it seems not accessible, because for me it's hard to use it. And Darek said, okay, I tried to find something similar, and they both react emotionally. That it works. It is much better designed and easier to use. And the first web page, this not accessible web page, for them was not good for using.
We are comparing two airport web pages. Airport
exactly.
in Poland and airport in Canada. And the Canada airport web page was fully accessible, but it was a pleasure to use for me.
Yeah.
And the Polish airport, it was like I was trying to find some important information about flights, and I didn't know how to do this. So imagine you cannot see.
So what,
trying to do the same.
yeah, what I would like to say, accessibility is not only for the people with disabilities. Yeah, it helps a lot of other people. The simplicity is the most important. Yeah, in accessibility. So I guess that there is good point to go in the future with hope. Yeah.
Also, demography is on
Yeah.
on our side. Yeah,
And
in Europe, in our countries,
and you know,
we are just getting older, and we need it.
true. And the GDPR is something what should works in the background, yeah, and accessibility works in the front, yeah. So because if you go to the web page, you don't know what is with the GDPR, if the company is correct or not, just the information. You have information, don't know anything else. If you want to use the digital software, you know if it is accessible, if it is easy to use immediately, yeah.
And you can have just a message, we are accessible.
Exactly.
It's not enough.
We are in the situation where our population is aging, and it's not only the matter of people are aging, but the people who used to use internet were actually born in the time when actually there wasn't internet, there wasn't applications, that they learned how to do this when they were 30 or 20 years old. They are still using it, and now they are 50, 60, sometimes even 70 years old. And as you mentioned before, like, we are aging, and our sight is not better with age, usually, in most cases. Okay, some surgeries, etc., may improve that, and that could change in some cases. And we do also have a lot of different issues, a lot of different progressing disabilities, just progressing with age. So it's not just a matter that, okay, like 10 years ago, people who were, at their 60s, 70s, designing application systems for them was pointless because they were never using internet, they were never using smartphones, etc. Right now, it's not only the matter of the new users of your product, is keeping your old users who are becoming more or less disabled, keeping them as your users if you want to keep your user base.
Definitely. There is very popular statement in accessibility world that whatever you do for accessibility, you do it for yourself in the future.
Yeah.
And that's true.
It's true. And yeah, also people's life is extending, lifespan is extending. So it's also something that there will be a growing number of people with some kind of disabilities, with some at this age, that they will need some accessibility features in the applications. Okay, the question that I love, I ask to all of our guests: artificial intelligence. And I know that you already have a great example of that. So what do you think about the accessibility and artificial intelligence working in a pair, and how AI could impact the accessibility?
How? It is hard to say, but we see now that it helps. For example, I have an application, it names Be My Eyes, and there is the module which is combined to ChatGPT. I can make a photo, and this application shows me the text, and the text says what is on the photo. This is alt text, actually. Sometimes it's quite long, and I can ask about the details of the picture. Last year, actually, we tried to use it in the pictures, and it doesn't work properly. Today, the change is huge, and of course, it makes mistakes, and sometimes it doesn't know what is on the picture. Sometimes it is not true what it says, but in 80%, sometimes more, it is good information for me. So this is big change.
Yeah, so Be My Eyes was the app we were using in our office, almost all of us. So for instance, Dawid was trying to get to the office, so he was going out from his home, getting to the tram, and on his way he was connecting with one of us, and we could guide him. So of course he knows the way pretty well, but if there's some construction area or a lot of snow these days, we can say, hey, go to the left, be careful, somebody is there, blah, blah, blah. So we are using it. I was never brave enough because I'm not a responsible person. So
It's not true.
I was not trying to make stupid jokes, but Kacper, Tomek were using it together with Dawid.
They make jokes too.
But now I think you can use it without us. Yeah, at least in some scenarios, not 100%. But right now the AI can replace the colleague, the friend, who was warning, for instance, Dawid, that okay, there is an obstacle on your way.
Since we have like a self-driving cars, I can imagine we will have self-driving assistance for sightless people pretty soon.
But Be My Eyes is based on volunteers, and it is real helpful because they can help to choose clothes and to say what color is the, for example, the trousers or shirt. It is really helpful, but this artificial intelligence, there is a warning. You should not use it for crossing the street, for example, because you make the photo and it takes time. It takes time to give you this information, and it can it is not actually a good way to know this information, to get this information real. But also I have another application, is Seeing AI from Microsoft, and it helps. For example, there is a short text function, and it can tell me what is, for example, on the screen of monitor, or I have a letter and I know from whom and what is exactly, and I can use it very easily, and it's quick. It's really quick, and for short text, it's very useful.
You want to do the demo again?
Of course.
Maybe we can show this. Be My AI.
Okay, so
A second.
let's try, but it will speak in Polish. This function names Be My Eye, and now I...
Na zdjęciu widać drewniany stół, na którym znajdują się szklanka z wodą i plasterki pomarańczy. Prędkę papieru z tekstem. W tle znajduje się zielona ściana z czarnymi białowymi pasami, a także aparat fotograficzny na statywie i lampelek na czarnym stojaku.
So for those who don't understand Polish, it just said that there is a wooden table, a few glasses, a camera, and a lamp, which is exactly what Dawid would see if he would see.
Exactly.
It is impressive, as Dawid said. We tried this functionality. We got access to the beta version like a year ago, maybe less, and we started with really first versions of that, and it was terrible. We were trying even to automate in some projects. There was a lot of drawings, graphics. We needed alt text for them. At the conclusion, after long tries, was that we cannot use this because you cannot trust, and there will be a lot of quality issues. But now, it worked in majority of the cases.
I think it's just a progress of AI models, picture recognition, etc., and large language models that is improving at the pace that, I wouldn't imagine like a year ago that we will be at the stage with any AI models that we are using every day. Yeah, so it's improving, and that's a great example how AI is actually helping in real life, everyday life for the disabled people, but I think that it could help for everyone.
It's a game changer, in my opinion. Imagine you are a blind person and you don't have a family, you live alone. I think it's a game changer. Dawid has, let's say, normal family, a lot of friends. He's also a sporty person. This guy is king. Wow. So he developed a lot of superpower skills. But if you're not so brave or so lucky or so talented like Dawid, I think it's a game changer.
So do you think that it could, I think it could and probably will develop in a way, as I mentioned before, that we have self-driving cars. I can imagine that, Dawid, in the next couple of years, you will be walking with a camera on your shoulders and earphone in your ear. I'm pretty sure that will happen pretty soon, because it's pretty close from what you just showed us.
Yeah.
And I believe that the technology is already there. Like the self-driving cars is a great example. Like this technology could be used for people with sight disabilities.
Yeah, for sure. There's one thing worth to mention. I think probably you've heard a lot about the AI models being trained and being biased. Yeah, sometimes there are some big news in newspapers that this is biased to, I don't know, to white people, to black people, whatever. Yeah, and I think the current situation is also that it is biased towards the person without disabilities, because people who create them, and they not often think about this kind of this part of our life. So probably right now, this is also the reason why you still cannot simulate the disabled person with AI, because nobody probably thought to create something like this. But in the future, why not?
Someone could actually figure out how to train AI to simulate disabled people and to speed up your work, actually. And that might be a good idea to explore for all of you who are watching it and listening to this podcast episode. Okay, guys, is there anything else you would like to add at the end and share with our audience?
We just want to educate you. I think we just want to change your perception and make you a little bit more empathic towards the people with disabilities. Believe me, we have our standard training. The first module of our training is that we can go to the company like yours, and Dawid or Adrian or another blind person is showing how they try to use your app. And it takes like 1 hour. And the most typical feedback is that we are so sorry. It's so sorry to see how you are struggling. And this is sometimes, I would say usually this is the most important first step, because people see it, they start thinking about this. This is like big change in their life, in their perception. And this is the most important, just to broaden your horizons. Yeah, there are different kind of people with different needs. And when you think about this constantly, everything is much easier. It's not a rocket science to make accessible apps. Yeah, so it's not a rocket science. It's not a big investment. It's just awareness and some goodwill and some education.
Yeah, so I must admit that for me and for our team at Healthfolder, that was a really eye-opening experience, and at least everything new what we are doing since then, we are trying to develop in a way that it will be accessible. Of course, we have a lot of rework to do to improve the entire application, to actually Dawid and people like Dawid could get to the point where we are building right now. But at least from now, the next feature hopefully will be way more accessible than the previous one. I recommend to everyone who is building any product, involved in any product, as a manager, as a software developer, as a tester, as a designer especially, I think that should be a mandatory design schools, design courses, this kind of modules, this kind of trainings. I recommend you honestly to call Dawid, call Dawid, check Access or any other companies, but especially in this one, because I know that the quality level of your services, and I can honestly recommend it. Anything else?
Last word, Dawid, for me.
Last word? I think that thing about accessibility is like about something what you are doing for you also, for your children, for your family, for your friends, because earlier or later there will be someone who will need it. And it is great to help other people who has barriers in the life. And for example, I am a person who love life, and without assistance, I would not be able to do a lot of things. If I have accessible products, I can do much more if when I wouldn't have them. Yeah, so you change the life of many people when you take care of accessibility, and this is very, very important, and make the change.
I have one more thing. Sorry. Don't be afraid to hire people with disabilities. It's a great addition to your team, It's also for me, starting cooperation with Dawid was a life-changing experience. I learned a lot. I like it. It's fun. We won't be able to have such kind of company without Dawid. Yeah? So it's also the added value. It's not so difficult as you think.
Perfect. So, guys, if that what Dawid and Dawid just said is not convincing you, just remember what I was trying to tell you before, that there is also a monetization incentive and money incentive behind that. You can think that, okay, how could this market grow? It is growing. As we said before, like, it's not the matter that there is more people with disabilities than it used to be like 10 or 20 years ago. Probably the number or the percentage is pretty the same. But the number of people who are your users already, who will become disabled some one way or another, and people who are users in general of the internet, of the app, who are gaining some disabilities and getting ill or have some problems that will start with aging, this number is increasing, and it's increasing very, very fast. So it's very important to take care about these users so they will stay with you. As Dawid and Darek said before, users with disabilities are very loyal users, loyal customers, and if you will attract them at this level, there is a huge chance that they will stay with you, because I know that you are exchanging information with your colleagues on the applications that are accessible and are ready to use for people with disabilities. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for visiting us for this interview. It was a great pleasure. I learned today a lot. I hope that our listeners, our audience is also happy with what they heard, and I hope we'll make some change in people's perspective on accessibility. Don't forget to check Access. We'll provide the link to your websites in the show notes caption. And of course, remember to subscribe to Pragmatic Talks and stay with us and give a thumb up if you like this episode. That will help us a lot. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. It was a pleasure. We're happy to test your next version of your product.
Exactly.
I hope you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Pragmatic Talks is delivered to you by Pragmatic Coders, the first choice software development partners for startup founders. Be sure to catch all new episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast channels. And if you are thinking about building your own startup or struggling with product development, contact us and find out what we can do together.